Okay, in this lecture, we're going to talk about William Blake's two poems, actually, by William Blake, The Lamb and the Tyger. And I selected these two poems based on the fact that they're using animals in a way that's very symbolic. And William Blake, just a little bit about him, he's an English poet. He was also a celebrated painter, and he was a printmaker during his lifetime. He is most well known for his art, visual arts, and poetry. And he is part of this sort of school, the Romantic poets. So that's capital R, Romantic. It doesn't mean that they wrote about love, and it's not that kind of romance. The capital R Romantic period of poets were a group of artists and creators who celebrated nature and viewed elements of nature as spiritual and as giving them life and some higher way of viewing existence, and even sort of a way to get closer to God. So they saw nature as something very symbolic that way. So with the two poems, I want to read them sort of side by side because they do relate thematically. And I want you to sort of start thinking about how animals function in works of art or poetry or narrative as a symbolic element. Okay, so this is The Lamb by William Blake, and it's from his selection of poetry, Songs of Innocence. So that title there, Songs of Innocence, is the collection which this poem comes from, and it does give you a big hint there what the theme is. So innocence is going to be a central theme or idea of this poem. Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Gave thee life and bid thee fed by the stream and o'er the mead. Gave thee clothing of delight, softest clothing woolly bright. Gave thee such a tender voice, making all the vales rejoice. Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Little lamb, I'll tell thee. Little lamb, I'll tell thee. He is called by thy name, for he calls himself a lamb. He is meek and he is mild. He became a little child. I a child and thou a lamb. We are called by his name. Little lamb, God bless thee. Little lamb, God bless thee. Okay, so one of the first things that I usually do when just scanning a poem, I usually actually count how many lines there are. So I can sort of see any visual division and note any kinds of patterns. So if you do count the lines, you'll see that there's two stanzas. So a stanza is one section, almost like a paragraph, and you can see there's a break in between. So you have two stanzas. And if you count the lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 lines in your first stanza, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 in your second stanza. So we have two stanzas. So the next thing I usually do is look for any rhyme schemes. So you could look at the last word of each stanza and see if they're doing a rhyme scheme. So the, rejoice, voice, bright delight, mead, feed, the. So there is some rhyming, what we call rhyming couplets, or at least, they have a consistent pattern there. And same with the second stanza, the name, lamb, not quite a rhyme, but close enough. Mild child, lamb name, the. So we do have sort of couplets or similar sounds at the end. We also have some repetition. what you call a refrain. So when a line has been repeated more than once. So little lamb, I'll tell thee, little lamb, I'll tell thee. Um, and then the refrain, little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? And then that's refrained at the end of that stanza. Same with the second stanza. And then just in terms of repeated vowel sounds or consonant sounds, that's assonance or alliteration. You can sort of go through and see that there is some repeated sound. So little lamb, that would be some alliteration. Um, and there's other, examples as well. So that's just basically what you do, and when you scan a poem is I usually count the lines, look for rhyme schemes, note how many stanzas there are, um, and look for any kind of repeated patterns that you can see in the poem. Okay, so let's get into the context or the what this is about. We can kind of decide who the speaker is. So, little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Gave thee life and bid thee feed. It's obviously somebody who's addressing the lamb, asking a question. Who made thee is the question. There's no question mark, but we know that when there's a who in the sentence, then it's usually a question. It does have a kind of innocence or almost like a childlike quality to it. It sounds almost like a nursery rhyme to me. And it does have that sense of nature as well. So you can imagine, a farmyard, somebody, with who would be, beside a lamb. Usually a lamb is in a farmyard. So if you see a poem or a story that features some part of nature related to agriculture, sometimes we call that a pastoral. So that usually has a very kind of innocence or rural descriptive focus on the natural world in it. And it becomes, it's a sort of a simple poem, but at the same time, it's asking a very large question. Who made thee is a an existential question. It's asking who gave thee life, who is the creator. So automatically it makes us or forces us to contemplate bigger issues rather than just this sort of naive child asking a lamb, where did you come from? So there is this level to the poem of religion and seeing a connection between all of creation and the creator in this case. A sort of Christian God is what they're implying. And so who made thee? Does thou know who made thee? It does, give us the sense that there's a larger creator at work. And the lamb is described in that first stanza. It's very kind of, the gentlest, most innocent creature. So it's described, in the field by the stream, and then its clothing is this woolly, soft, obviously the woolly coat of a little lamb, and everyone sort of rejoices in the presence of a baby lamb. And then the second stanza, we have the answer to the question. So the first stanza asks, who made thee? The second answer is the speaker telling us, he says, little lamb, I'll tell thee. So he's going to reveal the answer to this question. And the answer is, he is called by thy name. So the creator is the lamb. And if you know any, biblical references, this is a sort of an allusion, Christian allusion, and the lamb is Jesus. So Jesus is often um, called the Lamb of God. And there's a traditional image of Jesus as a lamb. And this also connotes, feelings of gentleness or innocence. And it's a very peaceful image as well. So we can sort of see how there is this almost like childlike naivety or asking a lamb who made thee, and then this more profound answer that, um, you know, God is the creator, Jesus is the lamb, and he is meek and mild. He became a little child, so Jesus as a child. And so we do have a lot of Christian beliefs and Christian symbolism embedded in this poem. So basically, as we are also the children of God, and we are in Christian belief, we are the children of God, and we're made in His image. So we are also like the child or like the lamb, um, especially when we're young as children, and then we're all innocent. So there's this theme of innocence captured in the symbol of the lamb, both in the literal lamb, the woolly coat lamb, but also in what it represents in terms of the poem, which is Jesus, the Son of God, who's the Lamb of God. So yeah, basically that's what this poem's about. But it gets more interesting when we contrast it with the Tyger. So you have to sort of almost see the two poems side by side to see the full extent of what Blake is trying to convey with these animal symbols. So let's look at that one next. So William Blake's sort of companion poem is The Tyger, and he spells tiger with a Y, which makes it, maybe it's a little more exotic or unusual or a reflection of the spelling or idea of a tiger. And it comes from his collection of poems, Songs of Experience. So we had Songs of Innocence featuring the lamb. Here we have Songs of Experience featuring the tiger. So automatically, again, your mind should go theme. Experience is a theme. Okay, so again, you can number your lines and look at any patterns. But let's read the poem out loud first, and you can make note of any repetition, any kind of rhyme scheme when you read it out loud. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain, in what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grasp, dare its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stanzas. Each one has 4 lines, and so those would be 4-line stanzas are called quatrains. And then you can look at your rhyme scheme again. Bright night, eye, symmetry is a pushing it, but some people pronounce symmetry in when they're reading it out loud, just to make that rhyme work. But yeah, if you do have a rhyme scheme, bright night, skies, eyes, aspire, fire. So these are couplets again. So rhyming couplets in quatrains, and there's 6 in total. And then some repetition. The first and the last stanza are exactly the same. So you do have some refrain of that important stanza. And then your middle stanzas are sort of developing this central idea. So Tyger, Tyger, burning bright in the forest of the night. So immediately what comes to mind is, you can imagine a tiger in the forest. Burning bright, there's some good alliteration there. Maybe the orange color of the tiger, maybe their eyes bright in the, glimmer of the forest. Tigers are burning bright, almost like a flame. That orange color could be implied in that. And then the question, just like the lamb, there's the central question that frames our discussion of this poem. What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? So it's asking who created there? Who could have created a creature like the tiger? What immortal hand, so what god or supernatural force could frame, create is another word for frame, construct is another word for frame, thy fearful, so thy meaning the tiger's fearful symmetry. Fearful as in, a tiger is, if you see one in the jungle, run away. It's a dangerous beast. It can kill you. It's not the gentle little lamb that we saw in the first poem. This is a dangerous animal. Fearful symmetry. You can think about symmetry just in terms of the actual beauty or like the symmetrical design of a tiger. If you look at their patterns, it could be that. It could also be implying the symmetry as in the two halves, the lamb and the lion together. They're kind of symmetrical. One is, but opposites, right? So opposite kinds of creations. Both exist in nature. So thy fearful symmetry can be understood in different ways. And then, so we have a basic question again, who created the tiger? The dangerous yet beautiful beast that can kill us. Who created that creature? And then it's answering the question. Basically, it's just sort of imagining the creation of this beast. In what distance, deeps or skies, burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? So the speaker is going to sort of imagine what this creator was thinking when he created the tiger. And he's using sort of imagery of a blacksmith in working with like a hammer and fire in a dark, you can imagine like a glass blower or somebody working with a very dangerous elements in creation of something. So like somebody using fire to create an anvil, or what a blacksmith would do. So that's what the image is of. So this creator has aspired to create something that is both fearful and beautiful, and it's almost like incredulous. The speaker saying, what person would do this, or who would make this? So he's almost asking these questions as if it's like a rhetorical device that he can't imagine who's responsible for this beast. So there's a fire burning in the eyes of the creator, and it's a very, this creator dared to seize fire and create this beast that burns bright in the forest. So There's a lot of fire imagery in this poem as well. Um, and then, and what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? So the sinews of the tiger's heart. But he's asking what kind of person, what kind of shoulder, what art, um, what are they made of? What is this person who could make this beast? The hands, the feet of the creator, everything, their whole body is sort of being addressed here in the creation of this living beast. Um, and you can imagine here, like it's again implying a blacksmith, you know, using a hammer, a chain, twisting their body, using fire in their creation. So they're kind of, it's almost, you know, saying this living creature has been brought from the flames and you know, almost like a piece of artwork constructed by an artist. And then what the hammer, what the chain, in what furnace was thy brain, what the anvil, what dread grasp, dare its deadly terrors clasp. Yeah, so it's again using the imagery of a blacksmith, you know, who works down in this furnace room with a blazing hot fire, a hammer, an anvil, and, you know, creating woodwork, or not woodwork, iron, metal, that kind of smith job. So that it's sort of implying that that's how a tiger was also created, through this, you know, act of metal work. And that does reflect kind of the industrial, it would be like what would be going on in terms of the industrial revolution at the time that Blake was writing. He lived in London, which was the center of sort of urban industrial progress. So this is a far contrast with that pastoral farm, very peaceful scene with the lamb. Here we have all the sort of hustle and bustle of industry, creation, urban, industrial work. That's very contrast to that peaceful, pastoral, beautiful farmland of the Lamb poem. And then I guess we're on the fifth stanza. When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? So yeah, we do get, you know, when this question of whether is it the same creator who made both the lamb and the tiger, and how is that possible? And was that person or creator, were they proud of their work, or was it celebrated, or was it unhappy? You know, were the stars in heaven, were they happy that this tiger was created, or were they upset about it? So he's again very incredulous, like he can't believe, the speaker can't believe that the same person or same creator made the innocent lamb and then this deadly, fearful tiger. And he can't quite understand that contradiction. So how can somebody who, or how can the creator, you know, God in this case, create both an innocent, beautiful, gentle creature, and then on the other hand create this terrifying, fearful beast that can, you know, kill, and that's terrifying to look at, and but it's both beautiful and terrifying as well. And then the refrain, Tiger, tiger burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? You'll notice the word dare is used repeatedly. Dare he aspired, dare seize the fire, dare frame. So there is this act of, you know, who dared. There's some element of ambition, aspiration of the creator in constructing or creating something as fearful as the tiger. So we do get a lot of symbolism in this one as well. We do have imagery of the blacksmith, but the tiger itself becomes a symbol of, um, it's sort of what the opposite of the lamb. So if the lamb is a representation of innocence and gentleness, the tiger represents everything that the lamb is not, which is, in this case is a kind of experience, a terrifying, almost evil presence in the world that can also be experienced as you go through life. So life is not all innocence and, you know, baby lambs, childlike innocence. You experience a lot as you progress in life, and the tiger is sort of seen as this symbol of all in the world that is dangerous and can be destructive, I guess. So the creator, the question is, you know, does God, who is our God if he created both innocence and evilness or dangerousness? So it's a question, an existential question that people have been asking since, you know, there has been, you know, people to think about creation or their own, you know, why would God, you know, create something horrible like a monsoon or a earthquake? You know, why did God do this and kill all these people? Um, you know, there's those kind of questions that this poem kind of brings up, where you're questioning your creator and asking him, you know, why would you do this to the people like that you created, your human children? Um, why would you make us suffer? So that's basically the theme or the question that's presented by William Blake in The Lamb and the Tiger. Both poems kind of go along with this. They're sort of, when taken together, question our creation, our experience through animals. And so they might be about animals on the surface, but they're also contemplating larger questions about the human condition, you know, and how our lives are filled with both childlike innocence, but also suffering, evilness, danger, all the things that are also part of human existence, human experience. And so it's also a questioning of God, who created us and created the world. Why would you make a world so unfair or so unjust or so full of both things that are beautiful and dangerous, or beautiful, innocent, and deadly, or full of suffering and evil? So there is this contradiction of human existence that is very brought out through the animal imagery of these two poems together.